Greetings and salam sejahtera to all watching this clip. My name is Subhatra Devi Rajaratnam, and my title for today is Developmental in Education Perspective. Okay, when we say developmental, what do we mean here? Okay, we can connect development to growth in the context of psychology. Development is described as a study of human growth through the stages of childhood, adolescence, young, and including with aging. Okay, change is inevitable. Okay, as humans, we constantly grow throughout our lifespans from conception to death. Okay, human development is influenced by, but not entirely determined by our parents and our genes. Okay, what are the characteristics of developmental and growth? Individual differences, or is it readiness for certain tasks? Maybe developmental rate, growth and developmental sequence, or it can be changed in growth rates over the years. In psychology terms, development is a scientific study of why and how people change throughout the course of their lives, from infancy to adulthood, including the manifestations and traits of each of these stages, like physical, emotion, social, or cognitive. Psychologists strive to understand and explain how and why people change throughout life. The study of developmental psychology can help educators understand the psychological and educational traits that people exhibit at various stages of developmental. They may also identify the elements influencing the students' growth, the ways in which these students' conduct can be improved, the techniques in which they can be taught, the challenges that require preparation in the educational process, allowing our educators, teachers to be aware of student differences. As an education professional, it is crucial to understand that every child may have a very different personalities and different strengths or weakness than the generation that preceded them. The process of child development includes everything from sensory awareness and fine motor skills to language acquisition and socializations. Okay. Parents and education professionals typically rely on developmental milestones such as when child learns to speak or read or track their growth relative to their peers. These milestones are important markers, but we must keep in mind that every child develops at their own pace. And while one may take their first step than most, or say the first word later than most, neither is likely to affect the ultimate capabilities. So the important role of educators during this time cannot be overstated. As we are aware, there are numerous developmental theories, mainly focusing on child development. But why? Why is child? Why child development? Okay, it is simply because childhood may be the most important life stages for brain development. There are numerous influential factors in child's early learning journey. Okay. According to studies, educators are the second most influential factor in a child's learning outcome and future overall well-being, the parents. And the consequences extend well beyond a child's ability to read and write. Okay. There are many theories about how developmental works. Additionally, it enables the scientific measurement of various aspects of growth, assisting the correction of abnormal growth patterns, whether educational or psychological. For instance, a psychologist assessing a child's intellectual growth might take into account Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which outline the crucial stages that kids experience as they learn. On the other hand, as a psychologist working with a child may also want to take into account how the child's relationship with caregivers affect their behaviors, in which case they may turn into ball-based attachment theory. Researchers in cognitive sciences may be also interested in how social interactions affect both children and adults' development. The two most well-known theoretical framework that addresses the social influence on the developmental process are the Erikson theory of psychosocial and Vygotsky theory on social culture development. Each strategy typically emphasizes different aspects of development, such as impact of parental, social, or mental factors on the children's growth and development. A thorough understanding of developmental theory and research in the tradition of Piaget is used here as a core knowledge to assist curriculum and teachers in restructuring their conceptions of teaching and learning. Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget theory of cognitive development focuses on how a typical child learns to make sense of their world through observation, experimentation, logical reasoning, and analysis. It includes four stages, which begin at birth and ending at age 12. Okay, Jean Piaget was the 20th century psychologist and cognitive theorist who studied child development. His belief arose from observing and documenting the growth of children, mainly his nephew and nieces. Okay, he emphasized that children are not simply little adults and that their thinking styles are fundamentally different. Piaget felt that children are little scientists examining their surroundings in order to achieve comprehension. Okay? He assumed that children accomplish this on their own without adults' assistance. He proposed various developmental stages in children gain language, memory, and thinking. As we see here, the first stage, sensory motor stage, which begins at 0 to 2 years. What happens here? A baby starts to build an understanding of the world through their senses by touching, grasping, watching, and listening. Okay. They also begin to develop a sense of object permanence, which means they understand that objects exist even when they cannot see them. The next stage is the pre-operational stage, okay, which starts at 2 to 7 years. Children at this stage develop language, abstract thought. Okay, this means they can think about concepts and ideas that are not physical. Next is the concrete operational stage, which starts from 7 to 11. Okay. Children learn logical, okay, concrete rules about objects such as weight, height, and volume. The next is the formal operational stage, which begins at 12. Adolescents here learn logical rules to understand abstract concepts and solve problems. The sensory motor stage, infant and toddlers find out a lot during this early stage of cognitive development. At the beginning of this stage, a child's whole experience is guided by basic reflexes, perception, and motor responses. Okay, children not only learn how to perform physical actions such as crawling and walking, they also learn great deal about language from people with whom they interact. Piaget believed that developing object permanence or object constancy, the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they don't see, was an important element at this point of development. Next is the pre-operational stage. Although the pre-operational stage of the development may have established the foundation for language development, the formation of language is one of the key characteristics of this stage. For example, child begin to think symbolically and they learn to use words and pictures to represent objects. Okay, getting better with language and thinking. At this stage, kid learns through pretend play. Okay, they also often struggle with understanding the idea of constancy. For example, if you give a child a lump of clay, which divided into two equal pieces, and we let them to choose which one they want to play with. One piece clay is smashed into a flat pancake, while another is compacted into a ball. Even though the two pieces are exactly the same, the preoperative child will probably choose the flat shape because it appears larger. Moving on to the next stage, the concrete operational stage. At this stage of development, children are still highly literal and concrete in their thinking, but they become much better at applying logic. Okay, kids get better at considering how other people might see a situation as they progress through the stages, and the egocentrism of the early stages starts to fade. Okay, for example, consider having two candy bars that are exactly the same size. Okay, you divide one candy bar into two identical size pieces and the other one into four smaller but identically sized chunks. Okay, a child in concrete operation stage will recognize that both candy bars still contain the same amount, whereas a younger child will think that the candy bar with more pieces is a bigger than the one with only two. The next stage is the formal operational stage. The final stage of Piaget's theory involves an increase in logic, the ability to use deductive reasoning, and an understanding of abstract ideas. At this point, adolescents and young adults become capable of seeing multiple potential solutions to problems and think more scientifically about the world around them. Some major characteristics are like to use deductive logic or reasoning from a general principle. For example, one task involve having children of different ages balance a scale by hooking weights on each end. Okay, to balance the scale, the children needed to understand that both the heaviness of the weight and distance from the center played a role. So therefore, the formal operational stage of cognitive development is distinguished by the ability to think about abstract ideas and situations. The ability to plan for for the future systematically and reason about hypothetical situations are also important skills that emerge during this stage. What part does a teacher play in a student's cognitive development? Why are developmental and learning theories relevant in the use of technology in education? Teachers must understand that each child learns differently and may be at a different developmental stage. The teachers must be educated about the capable of implementing methods through which students learn, such as visual, oral, or kinesthetic. A visual learner must be able to see what the teacher is saying. An auditory learner must hear what the teacher is saying, whereas a kinesthetic learner must touch what the teacher is saying. Every teacher or instructor must understand how each of their students learns in order to accommodate those children. Meeting key milestones in childhood, including walking, talking, developing fine motor skills, are really, really critical. Okay. Educators and teachers must determine whether students are stuck or having learning disabilities, developmental delays, motor skill delays, auditory processing disorder, or autism spectrum disorder, or speech delay, and also language delay. So, how is Piaget's theory applied in school? Okay, his theory focuses in particular on the processes that enables us to adjust to new situation and pick up new knowledge. When introducing new content in the classroom, teachers might use Piaget's idea of assimilation and adaptation. They can assist students in approaching new concepts by using what they have learned as a lens. I believe it is important for teachers to incorporate a variety of technology to support the diverse learning needs of their students because accommodating those students help them to be successful academically, thus providing technical support and giving the students the opportunity to gain knowledge and feedback on their understanding of lesson plans. Working in groups will provide students with more comprehensive information during class. Okay, technology here can inspire students to get involved in peer interaction, sharing ideas, and criticizing other students will also. What are the effects of Piaget's theory on education? Okay. The curriculum should provide the necessary educational opportunities based on the developmental stage of the children. Classroom activities that promote and support self-learning must be included. Hands-on learning activities must be included in the class. Co-curriculum activities that promote cognitive development in children must be valued equally with academic activities. Okay. Because children learn and think different ways than adults. Okay, so it is critical to emphasize the discovery method of learning. So what are the implications of Piaget's theory on education? According to Piaget's theory of implication, although all children experience the same stages of development, they do at various rates. Okay, to the exclusion of the entire class, teachers must make an extra effort to provide individual and small group activities in the classroom. Assessment should be centered on each student's progress rather than on the typical expectation of peers their own age. As a result of their interaction with the environment, people create their own implications for education. Okay. Piaget demonstrates how a child's comprehension is constrained by the stages that they have reached, and the teachers should take this into consideration as they instruct students at various phases of intellectual development. Okay, to effectively arrange teaching and learning activities, teachers have a thorough understanding of the must have a thorough understanding of the psychological aspect of students' development. To summarize, without a doubt, educators can use Piaget's theory in the classroom. Piaget contends that knowledge is not passively acquired by students from a constructive perspective. Okay? Piaget's theory holds that children need a curriculum that promotes their cognitive development by teaching them concepts and logical processes. Piaget's stages of development is a theory that children go through distinct stages from birth to adulthood, with each stage bringing new skills and milestones as they develop their own knowledge of world. Piaget believed that children develop through a continuous drive to learn and adapt schemas, which are mental templates that help them to understand things. So his ideas still have a considerable impact on child psychology and approaches to education. As a result, teachers' understanding of the psychological aspect of students' development is critical in assisting teachers in efficiently planning teaching and learning activities. With that, that's all. Thank you.